Are your hormones out of whack? Whether you're a male or a female, it feels terrible to have imbalanced hormones. It affects your mood, it affects your sleep, it affects your libido, it affects fertility. So there's a lot of areas in your body that get affected by hormones that are out of balance. One thing I want to talk today about as a root cause is something that's missed a lot. So we had a patient once who came in, and he was a former Marine. He was a rough and tough guy, and he was suffering symptoms of low testosterone as far as libido. He was working out all the time, wasn't getting the benefits. So he just came in because he wanted testosterone. That was the thing that he wanted. And so I explained to him what I'm going to say to you, which is that it's very important that you don't just give a hormone without finding out what the body is doing with it. So as an example, a man can be given testosterone and really not feel too much different. He can just start getting a bigger belly. He can develop man boobs, as they're called. Libido's still a wreck, etc., etc. So I was like, hey, doc, you gave me this testosterone. What's the deal? And then you can do a different test, which we do here at Root Cause, to see, well, what is your body doing with that testosterone that we're giving it? So men and women alike can alter a hormone. So in men, you can what's called aromatize your testosterone and turn it into estrogen. That's why you're getting the man boobs. That's why your libido is terrible and you're gaining weight and not gaining muscle, etc. Women can also similarly shunt a product into a pathway that's more likely to create cancer, breast cancer, uterine, ovarian cancer. So there's tests that we can see how you're processing your hormones, but then what? Okay, so you go, okay, that didn't work. Why? And that's the topic of today's little discussion, which is persistent organic pollutants. And these are things, heard about plastics and phthalates and parabens, a lot of chemicals in our environment. And you've heard, oh boy, it must be 5-7 years ago, if not more, BPA. All of a sudden it came out, boy, BPA is really toxic. It can cause cancer. It's an endocrine disruptor, meaning it's disrupting your hormone balance. And everybody was throwing out their BPA bottles. And then they said, oh, we've corrected that, and now we have BPS. I believe it was S as in Sam. And it was like, okay, good, that's the safe one. But it wasn't, and this is what should annoy you, I know it annoys me, is they just came out with they just tweaked the chemical in the lab and said, no, it's not the bad guy, it's not the BPA, and gave you something that has been adjudicated to be the same, if not worse. So there's BPS, there's BPF as in Frank, there's BPAF. All of these are the same problem. And if you look at the bottom of your bottle, the recycling symbol, if it has the number 7, then it is a bisphenol. Well, that's what BPA is, bisphenol A, bisphenol S, F, etc. So if it has the recycling number 7, that means it's still a bisphenol, and there are no safe ones. So that's when you want to get into not only cleaning your water and having a water filtration system of some sort in your home, but then putting your water in metal, putting it in glass. You know, glass, I always worry about it dropping, although there are some thick glass bottles that seem to be very robust, but I use stainless, but you're putting it in something that's not then leaching these chemicals into your water. When it comes to other persistent organic pollutants, so why are they called persistent? What happened was when these chemicals were first being created, and now there's 4,000, I don't know, it's probably a bigger number than that. But when they were first being created, they'd test them on rats and go, okay, how much was toxic? And then say, oh, it's just a fraction in humans. We're just using a fraction, so it should be totally safe. What they didn't realize was that they persist. They don't just persist in your body. You got it from mom and grandma too. That's how much they persist. So they persist generationally. And I'm not just saying this to freak you out, but here's the deal. We're struggling. We're struggling with our health. And any little thing you can do. Okay, so if you know to not get food in plastic and then stick it in a microwave, you're helping yourself out. If you know not to buy your water in a plastic bottle, shy of being at the airport and you don't want to get dehydrated, okay, that's fine. But generally speaking, you have a water filter, under the sink in your home or on top of the sink. There's a lot of great filters that don't cost that much. You get one of these stainless steel bottles and you put it in there. And then, and you've just taken, okay, there's a chunk, check mark, a chunk of bisphenols that I'm not getting exposed to. What else did I want to tell you about? I wanted to actually share with you a couple of patient stories. So this particular individual, so I was talking about persistent organic pollutants, right? So these pollutants that persist generationally. But there's other things that we find here at the clinic that are interfering with hormone receptors. The particular gentleman I was telling you about before that was the Marine, came in, wanted testosterone. I was like, let's dig a little deeper. One thing, of course, you want to look at is how you're getting rid of your hormones. So you want to look at liver health and gut health. And it turned out his gut was a mess. He wasn't mentioning that. It had been like that his whole life. Long story short, he had a gluten sensitivity, and when we got him off gluten, I think he had also an infection in his gut as well. I'll get to that in a moment. But primarily for this gentleman, it was the gluten. He got off gluten, and all of a sudden, he didn't need testosterone. All his symptoms went away. So what was inflaming his system was the gluten. We definitely see individuals where they have mold toxicity, or they have heavy metal toxicity, or we do stool analyses and in their gut they have inhospitable organisms, microbes, whether they're parasites, bacteria, fungi, etc., that are creating too much burden. So when it comes to hormonal health, it's very important that you find out what is the burden. What is it that is preventing your body from assimilating your hormones the way you should? And is it just that you don't have enough hormones and you need to augment? Or is it that they're somehow getting altered down a different pathway and you're not feeling the benefits of it? So when it comes to hormones, it's very important to get to the root cause of why your symptoms are there and not just throw hormones at you, but really figure out why. So if you know somebody who's suffering from hormonal imbalance, then this is something to look at. And we do it very strategically. And hormonal health is so empowering. When you feel yourself and you're happy, your mood is stable, you're cognitively strong, fertility, if you're trying to procreate, it's extremely important. I'm going to be talking more about these persistent organic pollutants and how they're affecting our children as well as us when it comes to endocrine disruption. But today I just really want to talk about the BPAs and some of those other things I mentioned. So if you enjoyed this video, please share it and become a member of the channel. I love that. And ask me questions. I would love to hear from you and hear from topics you're really interested in. That's why I'm here. Okay, have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday.